My name is Michael Dana. In 2008, I was diagnosed with a rare brain cancer, and after 6 years, I was cancer-free. But the ordeal left me changed, with a different outlook on life and a new sense of priorities. While still recovering, I earned a degree in economics from UNC Chapel Hill. My studies taught me to analyze data and open my mind to see things differently. I also started formal training in the martial arts to better defend myself and use it as a means of extreme physical therapy. Since then, I've obtained black belts in 3 martial arts. I own and run a martial arts school and have logged over 51 teaching hours. To my friends and family, I'm a simple business owner. But to the martial arts world, I'm something else. I am Sifu Mike, and this is Dragon Theory.
Hey guys, how's it going? So by now, you've probably seen my other episode where I tried to educate people about religion and science, and I'm back at it again, but this time I'm talking about politics, okay? So it's another episode about talking about a thing that we're told not to talk about, right? And where you get mad and upset about people not knowing anything about it when we don't ever talk about it. So it's like, of course you don't know anything about it. You never talk about it. So I'm here to talk about it. So yes, this episode is intended to educate you guys and relate a lot of what I've been saying in the previous videos about the martial art industry to something that hopefully you kind of already know, but you may not know it. It's very, very interesting. So I'm going to give you a different perspective as far as politics are concerned, and government and business, okay, in the medical industry, which I happen to know a thing or two about. If you don't know why, then you really should be paying closer attention. I mean, I put it in the intro, but so anyway, so I'm not gonna bury the lead on this thing because I know I'm either gonna educate people or just really take them off. And it's all up to you, man. Everything could be better, everything could be worse. It's all how you look at it that determines whether or not you're happy in life. And so it's all how you take this video. So be sure to watch the whole thing, right? Because you can't just take stuff out of context and not understand it. You know, you gotta take it all as a whole, man. Whole video. Be sure to watch this. And I'm going to be talking about other videos that I've already made, right? So you need to watch all of those other videos. Which means if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, then you definitely need to subscribe to my channel. It's got little buttons somewhere. Alright, subscribe to it. Alright, click the little bell because I'm going to be making more of these things. Right, but I am going to be referencing other videos about the martial arts industry that I've already made because I don't want to have to rehash points that I've already made. Right, not enough film on the camera to manage that. Not enough time in the day either, man. I got stuff to do. I'm pointing to my watch, my non-existent watch. Okay, I've got a nice little timer on my monitor that will tell me, you know, how long I've been going. Anyways, talking about politics, and I'm not really going to bury the lead on this one, even though I've been talking for like 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and tell you up front that I think it is totally, completely, 100% a distraction. Alright? Totally distraction. It doesn't accomplish anything. Whether Democrat, Republican, whatever party you want, alright, federal, state, if it's government-oriented politics, completely ineffective, and it is a distraction. It gives you the illusion that you actually are making change and running things, but in reality, nothing ever really happens. Okay, so the phrase that I like to use is one that's actually pretty common. Everybody thinks they know it, and that's the greatest trick that the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Well, I don't think that's the case. Actually, I think the greatest trick he ever pulled was convincing the world that they had figured out his trick. Alright? You're not going to look for something if you think you've already found it. It's the ultimate distraction. Alright? Look over here. Right? And how this all relates to martial arts is if you go back to the art of war, I've said it time and time again, know your enemy, know yourself. Winning is a result. All right. Knowledge is power. Power is control. And the easiest way to keep control over somebody is to keep them ignorant. Okay. You can't accurately defend against something if you don't know what that something is. All right. You can win any game if you play by your own rules. Right. If you can keep the opponent, the other party, ignorant of the rules, awesome. But if you keep them ignorant of the game, you don't even know they're playing the same game, man, you've already, winning is easy. Alright, and so that's kind of what is going on, in that we have these politics in play, and everybody's fighting with everybody, and there's a whole lot of division in this United States. Alright, we're united in name only. We're very much apart, and we're not to blame. You are not to blame. People are not to blame. Politics, that's to blame. Media is to blame. And the ones who are controlling the whole thing, business, right? Big business. So those banks that are too big to fail, those kind of big businesses, they're actually running everything. And you can look around and see the evidence of this, okay? In every society, since the dawn of society, throughout history, every single society, the people who own the largest and biggest buildings are the ones who are actually in control. Okay? Look around, man. All the big buildings in every single city, every major city and stuff like that, they're all owned by businesses. Okay? Businesses are actually calling the shots. And what I've said before in other videos is that what is good for a business, what is a very good business practice, often and most of the time is not good for the customer. Okay? Business wants to make as much money as they can from the customer. Customer wants to save as much money. They're literally opposed. Alright, so you have a government, a political system that is run exactly like a business, but it's not actually benefiting its constituents, right? It's benefiting itself, and it's benefiting the businesses that are backing it, because it's all about the Benjamins, man. Benjamin, president, all about the money, right? It's kind of ironic that most of our currency has our presidents on it. So, like, it's literally right there. Business, money, politics. Alright, so you gotta think, even though the government is run like a business, there are aspects of it that are not run like a business, and that you have people all the time who are being elected to positions without any prior experience or knowledge of what it is they're doing, right? They just are being elected on promises that they're going to do something, and then they're there for a short amount of time and don't get anything done, alright? It's very ineffective. The only thing they're good at is being able to sell themselves, right? It's like asking a used car salesman or car dealership, whatever like that, as car salesman to drive in NASCAR, right? He can sell himself that he can do the job really good, make all these promises that he's going to win and stuff like that, or lap or whatever like that. I don't really follow NASCAR. I know, I'm from the South, I should. But, not my thing. I like basketball. Baby, baby. Boom. Whew. Okay, I'm also not not quite there, man. I just like to watch. But, anyways, like I was saying, they're just selling themselves, right? Just like in martial arts, is that you are selling yourself and trying to prop yourself up, and what you're actually selling, what you're doing for people does not actually matter, right? You're just selling themselves and getting them to buy into you. Now, in politics, okay, the currency for most politicians isn't actually currency, it's votes, right? They're trying to get as many votes. They're selling themselves to get votes from this person, and this person, alright? Because they're trying to just get into office, and once they're in office, they don't have any really incentive to do anything else. That was their goal, right? They say they're going to run things, and they kind of do, but not for the people that elected them, but for the businesses, alright? And there's a lot of evidence to this whole thing, and I'm really going to spell it out here in this particular video as far as how I think is completely ineffective. Alright, the thing I'm going off of is that in 65 years, right, from the time that the Wright brothers flew and mankind went into the air and could fly, 65 years later we were putting a dude on the moon. Alright, in 60 years we went from not being able to fly to putting people in space. This is all before the invention of the personal computer. Okay, this is all before we had like computers that could fit in our pockets, right? All before that, we were able to do this incredible thing of going from not being able to fly to space, right? Leaving the ground, then leaving the planet, right? Before the computer, right? If we have the correct incentive, we can do anything. And the government has shown time and time again throughout history that it's capable of doing whatever it wants. So why then can it not do these very simple things that we've been struggling for the last 60 years? Okay, we're still arguing about things that happened 60 years ago, right? We haven't actually been effective in doing the things that we say we're going to do. We've just been arguing over and over and going back and forth and doing this. Okay, and so we're talking like every hot button issue you can think of. People are all hot and heavy about it, but not actually learning about it, not actually getting the scientific evidence behind it, the facts behind the facts of these different things that they're all arguing about. And we haven't done anything about them in 60 years. What are so many things? Well, literally pick out of a hat. I'm wearing a hat right now. I'm not taking it off though. So you can talk about gun control. You can talk about birth control. You can just talk about any kind of control, right? You can talk about any kind of racism, isms of any sort of prejudice, right? None of that has been really resolved, okay? Been 6 years. In the same amount of time it took us to go from not flying to space. We have been thoroughly, completely ineffective. Our politics have been ineffective. If you are in a business situation, in a business, and you are that ineffective at your job, you'd be fired. Okay, I've been in a lot of businesses, I've worked for a lot of people, and if I was that ineffective, even for like 2 weeks, right, let alone 60 years, I'd be fired. Hands down. You know, so you have lots of evidence that they're just not doing their job at all. I don't know what they're doing, except for making lots of money for businesses, right? So, and they're also keeping people completely and thoroughly ignorant and distracted with everything that they're saying, right? The other thing that I'm going off of here is that you really can't trust any source of information if that source benefits financially from the information that they're giving you, right? Basically, I personally can't trust a source of information. I can't trust someone to have my best interests in mind when they make a decision if there is a financial incentive for them to do otherwise. Because all of economics, and I've done economics, again, you should have watched my intro unless you've skipped ahead like a minute. It's entirely possible. Done economics, and all of economics for the most part hinges on the assumption that people are selfish, right? It's all based on statistical data, but the data indicates that lots of people don't think for other people's sake. They think about themselves and what they want, and war is better. That's a principle that we teach all the time. Okay, trying to get as much profit maximization for me, utility maximization for me, right? They're trying to get everything from me, right? The moment you put unselfishness in, and altruism, right, and thinking about other people, our predictions start to kind of fall apart, right? And so we don't make those assumptions because they don't happen, right? There's not a whole lot of statistical data to back up a whole community even of people who are actively choosing to benefit other people instead of themselves, right? So going off of that aspect is that you have people who are making a whole lot of money off of me doing a thing that I shouldn't be allowed to do, kind of deal. Or making a whole lot of money off of me being sick or whatever like that. Things that are not good for me or good for other people, but are really financially amazing for like whatever business, what have you. And so one of the things I like to point out to people is that of the car industries, or the cars beyond the whole selling themselves and marketing and like planned obsolescence that they've been doing for over 100 years. They have put all these safety features in their cars to make them safe, right? This is the illusion of control, that false sense of security that I talk about in martial arts that we do all the time. If you use your thumbs, like it's all related, man. But as far as cars are concerned, this is the thing I like to talk about. So in the United States, we have these speed limits. I don't know if you know what those are. Man, I drive around town, it looks like half the people in my town have no idea that there is actually a speed limit and that they should kind of follow it for their safety, right? There's no anecdotal evidence would indicate that that isn't a thing at all, that nobody knows that they're supposed to obey the speed limit and not accelerate past it. So you have these speed limits, and they're different from state to state, but the highest speed limit in the U.S., in the whole country, there's one road, one highway in Texas is 85 miles per hour. Okay, you have one road you can go 85 miles per hour. I actually recently met somebody who actually got a speeding ticket on that road. I was like, really? Come on, man. The fastest road in the U.S., and you get a speeding ticket. So, anyways, so we have 85 as our maximum. Now, studies have definitely shown that your chances of surviving any kind of car wreck diminish greatly when you start to exceed speeds of over 70 miles per hour. Okay, that's kind of why they have these things set there, is because past that point, the survivability is very low. Doesn't matter how many safety features they add in a car, if you get in a wreck at 85 miles per hour, there's a good chance you're not going to make it out of that thing, right? And so they have these speed limits in place for our safety, right? That's a big thing for them, right? Especially considering that, last I looked, the CDC said that almost twice as many people pass away and get injured from car wrecks and car accidents than from being murdered. Okay, all of being murdered. Okay, not just like, gun control, but everything, savvy, whatever like that. Murder. All right, more people are actually passing away from traffic, from car wrecks, than from crime, which is kind of why some of these things, like gun control and crime rates, are kind of a moot point in comparison to other stuff, which is probably why they're so ineffective about that. I mean, really, if I'm a politician and I say, hey, I'm for gun control, I'm going to get all the people that are for it. I know I'm going to get X amount of votes. If I say I'm against gun control, I'm going to get X amount of votes from the other side. So neither side actually has the incentive to get rid of gun control, which is probably why we've had that hot button issue for so long. Anyways, I'm digressing back to automobiles. So we have your automobiles, or we have speed limits, sorry. We have speed limits, right, that keep you from going over to be safe, right? So it is perfectly, totally illegal to go over those speed limits. But interestingly enough, it's perfectly legal to manufacture a vehicle that's capable of going over 85 miles per hour. In fact, I really can't tell you of any vehicle that I know of that is incapable of going over 85 miles per hour. That is like brand new, right? They all have that. Why? If it's not possible anywhere in the U.S., nowhere, then why do they have it? Okay, this completely unsafe thing, the government, who has shown that they can step into any kind of business and say anything, make you do anything, right? For your safety, they're allowing cars to be manufactured at that can go over a speed limit that they put in place. Okay, doesn't make any sense why that would be the case. However, I'm going to, every time I say the word taxes, that's money that goes to the government, okay? That's just the little terminology here. So, if you speed and you're pulled over and you get a ticket, you then pay the ticket to whatever county, all right, the government, right? You might have to pay court fees based on wherever you're at, okay? Again, money to the government, right? And then there are lawyers who, entire law firms, their primary source of revenue are the people who get these speed limits, right? They're representing them in court. So that entire business, that law firm, right, they have to pay income tax, right? They have to pay property tax, right? They have payroll because they probably have employees, so they got to pay payroll tax. Each of those employees have to then pay income tax, right? So again, money going to the government. There's financial incentive right there. It goes on, right? If you speed, you tend to burn more gas. So go to a business, you get more gas. Gas prices up. There's taxes there. Business, tax. We covered all that. Probably going to put some more wear and tear on your car than necessary, so that you have to go to the mechanic more. All right, more stuff there. Business, tax. Okay, but now, if we get in a wreck, all right, say we get in a small wreck, car's got a whole bunch of crumple zones and everything like that. It's totaled, all right. Got to get another car, go into a business, tax, right? And if you get it fixed, go into a mechanic, more tax, business, right? Now, here's the thing. If you get seriously injured, then you go to the hospital and you pay a bunch of money, all right? Again, paying money to a business, tax, okay? And then, after that, your insurance premium goes up, more money, tax, okay? Which also, I think it's kind of odd that we are completely okay with the idea that our government is legally mandating us to pay a third party money for a service, right? In order to do something that should be a basic, thing, like just driving or buying a house or, going to the doctor, right? So, anyways, there exists a tremendous amount of money that allows you to speed. Like, if you speed, they can get a crap ton of money from it. Like, all these things, lots of money. So there is a huge financial incentive to not keep you from speeding, right? So they're going to let you do that. They're going to trust that you don't speed, that you don't break the law, just like they trust for you to not spread COVID. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at, man. I'm like looking at both sides. I'm like, this doesn't add up at all. How can you possibly say that you have everyone's care and safety in mind if you're allowing this thing to happen that should be gone? I mean, going back to the whole medical side, because I am relating this to business, and the medical business, man, I think they account for something like 2.7 trillion or more dollars every year of the U.S. I mean, we have an entire society based on basically paying a large sum of money just to be alive. Okay, we're really the only country that has that, and so a lot of things that we do are based around paying ridiculous sums of money just to be alive. All right, and I'm saying this as a cancer survivor. Okay, and I'm actually going to be popping up a little graph somewhere on in a monitor or whatever like that that I had to put together because I couldn't find it. Because you think this would be easily accessible information, but as an economist, the thing that I look for, again, facts behind the facts, is not just what is presented, but what is not presented and why it's not there. that kind of deal. That's what I'm looking for. Right? I want to know everything. Again, knowledge is power. Right? You can't defend against something if you don't know what that something is. So I want to learn everything. And for going from a scientific mindset, if everything is science-based, science dictates that there should be a lot of data points. Right? There should be a whole lot more than just scientific evidence suggests. Scientific evidence suggests that there's a whole lot more than your statement. Right? I want to know what that is. Even if it's like a freaking long document that I have to go through and find these details, I want those details to be presented to me. I just don't want to take your word for it because you've already expressed that, or shown that you don't really care about me. Right? Because as it stands at this point, man, it's been 12 years. I was diagnosed in 2008. It's been actually 12 years and 8 months and some change. But, you know, the government has made more money off of me being sick than me working hard and being healthy. Alright? I've amassed like over $200,000 in medical expenses. Right? And it just keeps going up from there, man. And so, way more than I'm actually made and earned by working my butt off, right? And doing so while recovering from cancer, okay? But going back to this thing, like, cancer grams that I'm going to make, or show you guys, is that it is the total number of people who have died from cancer year to year from 2008, the year that I got cancer, to now, okay? And it's going to show that it has never decreased, right? It has always gone up. Even though I've read some things that say like the cancer death rate has somehow decreased. I'm like looking at the numbers going, it's going up. That doesn't quite add up, but hey, you can manipulate data to match whatever conclusion you've already made, right? Or anything that is marketable that you can sell that is positive, because the government definitely doesn't want you to know they have been completely, thoroughly ineffective in even stopping or bringing down the number 2 cause of death in the U.S., okay? I'm not even talking about the number 1, right? I'm talking about number 2 always going up. It's something like a total of 7.6 million people have passed away since 2008, okay? Over 600,000 people passed away just last year. And what's crazy is that when you Google like year and cancer death rates or death totals, what you end up getting, the very number 1 result is an estimate. Alright, and I understand there's probably other variables in the mix, but like it's after the fact. And this already happened. These events already happened. We should have like totals, alright? Actual data instead of estimates, but we have estimates. We are given estimates, and we're not given them all together in a graph like I'm presenting. This should be on the screen somewhere. But instead, we're giving estimates. So if that data is not completely accurate, then how is it that other data is? Makes no sense to me whatsoever unless you put the financial aspect involved in the whole thing and you understand that, hey, maybe, just maybe, we don't want people thinking about this massive cause of death that could potentially get like half the people in the U.S. and something that will spend thousands of dollars over the course of their entire life to just live. I mean, it's very interesting that cancer by itself, I mean, there's thousands of different types of cancer, and everybody's different. Everybody has different body types and whatever like that, and so you have all these variables, but the one consistency, right, one thing that every single cancer has in common is that the moment you get it, 5 years. Everybody has 5 years. You have 5 years after you finish treatment until they tell you that you're cancer-free. That's amazingly consistent. I mean, I know that they're trying to keep things simple and stuff like that, but 5 years, that means that regardless of what kind of cancer you have, the moment you get diagnosed, they can immediately put a price tag on you, right? They can immediately know the average amount of money that you're going to spend in the course of at least 5 years, Okay, there's a financial incentive. I know that this exists because I run a business. And there's the teaching aspect that where I look at a student and I'm like, student want to learn everything like that. But there's also the business aspect when I look at a student and I'm like, okay, that's a dollar sign. That's rent, that's bills, that's food on my table. Okay, I have to be cognizant of both things because I do both things. Now in most martial art places, most businesses, they're kind of smart about this because what they do, I just admit it, I'm not smart at all, but I am. I think I am. But what they do is they own the business, but they have somebody else manage the business. So they make the rules, but they have somebody else enforce them. Right? So it's literally a good cop, bad cop thing, and the customer doesn't know any better. Right? But when you're both, in my case, I'm a teacher and the owner, owner, manager, and stuff like that. It's like you have to know your box and know your area and everything like that, and you really just tiptoe lightly between them. Not easy, man. But easiest way would be is if I got somebody else be like, hey, go collect tuition from that guy or whatever like that. So you have these things where it's like, hey, the business, what's good for me, for the business, is not so good for the customer. So when the customer or when a cancer patient gets diagnosed, they immediately get that number attached to them. And there are way smarter people than me. There are entire floors and departments dedicated to researching and developing these very things that we're talking about in business, right? So I know this exists because that kind of information would be huge if they had that kind of marketing information. Also, for the longest time, medical insurance was based on the 5 years. Like you had a pre-existing condition for 5 years, right? All financially oriented stuff, all right? And so you are a dollar sign. From the moment you're born, they can attach a dollar sign to you. They can be like, okay, this kid is going to cost X amount at the very minimum. If he goes here, whatever, does that, does this, we can quantify how much a child is going to cost, right? So it just kind of, it shouldn't be any surprise that COVID happens to target the very people who would otherwise spend hundreds of dollars just to be alive. Right? I can't ignore that. I'm too much of an economist to ignore that. I'm also a cancer survivor, so I'm looking at this going, okay, the effects of it, not as bad as what I've been through. The length of it, not as bad as I went through. Alright? It's just kind of like, I'm sitting there going, people are much tougher than they think. Right? Not downplaying the severity, I'm just recognizing the actual comparing severity of what we need to be focused on. Just like martial arts industry, they focus on the wrong thing. Okay? And so, knowledge is power, we got to get this out there. We got to understand, yes, this is bad. This is also really bad. Okay? We can't dissuade that. We can't overlook that and just focus on this thing. We can't focus on treating the symptom and ignoring the disease and not trying to cure the disease, because that thing's still going to be there. Alright? If my cancer was on the part of the brain that alcohol affects, right? And so the symptoms that I had were the same symptoms that if you're really drunk, had those, right? And so there are remedies, home remedies for the most part, that you can do to mitigate the symptoms of being really drunk, right? I could have done that, could have treated those symptoms, but that brain tumor would have still been there, okay? That cancer would have still been there, still would have killed me, because I didn't cure it, I didn't take it out, alright? That's the thing. So we need to find the underlying cause and go for that, because if we fix this, everything else might just happen as a result. Remember, know your enemy, know yourself, and winning is a result. Alright, too many people are focusing on winning, right, and they don't realize how they can win. Alright, here's how you can win. Educate people. Just give them all kinds of knowledge, because that is the one thing that our politics has not been able to really effectively do for the last, 60 years. Okay, it's amazing. If you look at the voting electoral results for the last 60 years of presidential elections, you'll see that the country is almost completely evenly split. That's an amazing, amazing consistency, right? If I were a business, I would love that. That means I can bet on that, man. I can make some money off of that kind of consistency, right? That on paper, like I said before, man, we're all united, but really, we're kind of divided. Well, according to the media, most people I've talked to are moderate, they're right in the middle, but according to the media, a business, we're divided, man. And they're going to focus on all these things, these hot button issues that really kind of are mute points, which is why politics seems to be so ineffective at actually doing them, because they want you to think about them and not the actual problems at hand. They want you to think about symptoms and not the disease. Okay, so education, man, we got to get people knowledgeable. And if you go back to my episode about the brains, I think it's episode 13, I'm not sure. It's been a lot of episodes, man. I think this is 32. Right? I talk about the brain and how it works and how you actually form opinions and memories and thoughts. Right? And I'm not going to rehash any of that. I'm going to mention that to say that I really honestly don't think that anybody over the age of 15 is going to enact any kind of reasonable change. Not unless you absolutely want to. You have to make that choice. Okay, you can do anything any other person can as long as you try hard enough. And every good accomplishment begins with the decision to try. That's a Kennedy quote, actually. I like that one. The thing is that when you try, whatever you're doing, if it depends on somebody else, it's not going to happen, right? You can try as much as you want, but if what you're trying to do depends on someone else, it's not going to happen. So you have to recognize, okay, what is it that I can do, be that change you want to see in the world, and what is it that other people have to do for me, kind of deal. And so it's not an easy situation, which is why I say educate the young people as much as you can about everything, and then educate them about the why people believe certain things. Okay, if you watch my last video, I gave you some advice or some reasons as to why certain people believe certain things over other things. All right, educate people, let them get all the knowledge, let them figure it out, let them make this world a better place. Okay, because everyone's trying to fix the system. Everybody, acknowledges the political system is broken, right? But the system is just a system. It's not. I even talked about it in another video, right? You can change that system all you want, but if you don't change the person running it, the person who created it, right? If you don't change their brain, you're not doing anything. You're just treating the symptom, not curing the disease. Okay, so we got to have that extra knowledge in there. Now, I am going to offer one last thing, a couple really radical solutions, because a lot of people want universal health care, right? They want this thing they can just show up to the hospital and not pay a whole bunch of money, or any money whatsoever, right? And it's interesting correlation. The countries that just happen to be doing some of the best work with COVID right now are also the ones where they have this kind of socialized healthcare system I'm talking about. Just FYI, interesting correlation there. I'm good for that. But we have this financial system, okay, medical system, businesses that for pretty much basically profit off of the pain and suffering of other people and have been doing it for a very long time. That is their number one thing. I said trillions of dollars earlier, right? Every year they make a ton of money off of the pain and suffering of people who are for pretty much just trying to live. All right, they're trying to be alive, right? And they're spending buttloads of money to do so. Something like, I think, $7,000 per person. There's 300 million people in the U.S. All right, if 300 million people, here's my radical idea. All right, this will probably never happen, but the only way you can ever make significant change in a business is to take away, again, treating the curing the disease instead of treating the symptoms, right, is to take away their income, because they operate, most businesses operate in a, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, right? And so they're just going to keep going with the same thing, like I said, 60 years or more, because it's working, because you keep paying for it. So these people, everyone, including me, who wants a socialized healthcare system, we got to stop paying for the one that we have. And we've already seen how this works out in several other businesses. The entire theater industry is like, because people stopped coming to it. It went quick too, man. We're talking months. Some of these places closed down because they weren't getting any business, right? No business whatsoever. So, my radical idea, if 300 million people all at once just decided to not pay medical insurance, everything would change really quick. It'd be very interesting, okay? Not going to happen because it takes a collective effort of 300 million people to be like, you know what? I'm done with this thing. I'm not paying for this service, and, you know, I should be alive, just being alive. That's the thing. The government should take care of me. Instead, I'm having to pay a bunch of money just to be alive. So if everybody stopped paying medical insurance, because the hospitals have a tendency to set their prices based on what the medical insurance will pay, right? What they'll get. And so if we stop paying medical insurance, all right, then the government has to step in and has to make the choice of like, well, do we let people just die because they can't afford it, or they refuse to pay ridiculous sums of money? Or do we make a change in the healthcare system as it is? So that's my suggestion. Everyone just stop paying for the thing, because if you do, then stop complaining about it. It's never going to change, right? As long as you pay for it, it's always going to be there because you're still paying for it. You know, that's how businesses operate, is that if they come up with a product and you keep paying for it, they're not going to change that product. I mean, why do you think that cars, for the most part, going back to cars, like the gas mileage consumption hasn't really significantly increased over like 30 or 40 miles per hour in just decades, right? Remember, going back to the previous thing, we went from not flying to putting people in space in 60 years, but in that same amount of time, we've been completely ineffective with gas mileage. Why? Maybe it's because you keep paying for it, right? And so, that's the thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, anyways, it's just a totally different perspective on how I believe the government and politics completely ineffective. So you should stop arguing amongst yourselves about this thing that is not effective, and actually start focusing on, you know, curing the disease, looking out for each other, helping each other, loving each other, trying to understand, trying to get knowledge, instead of just arguing for the sake of arguing about what is probably a moot point. Because if you actually get the scientific mind, get the data behind it, you realize, oh, there are worse things in the world. Oh, we should be focusing on this thing. Oh, we should just educate everybody on everything. Not that hard. Actually, it's very hard. Probably won't happen. But making a video, giving you the idea that it is out there. Go to a library, find this information. It's all there. Okay? Knowledge is power. Power is control. Know yourself. Know your enemy. Winning is a result. I want you to win. Okay? And I also want you to like and share and subscribe my videos, because I need all the signups I can get. My YouTube channel, YouTube/tkfmma. Alright? tkfmma is also the same like handle for all my social media stuff, like my Facebook pages and my Twitter account, my Instagram. Even I got a website, tkfmma.com. Okay, I even have a Dragon Method website, thedragonmethod.com, where you have more videos about all things martial arts and the martial arts industry. Okay, if you want to learn how to punch a kick and stuff like that, or how to teach and how to effectively communicate to another person. That's all there, and I'm currently doing a trial membership where you can go and you can sign up for free. So go sign up. That's thedragonmethod.com. Okay, and I'm Sifu Mike. I I got a couple more of these videos for you, so make sure you hit the notification bell that is somewhere, and I will catch you next time. Alright guys, love each other and stay positive.